In a world where there are so many ways for journalists and journalism to disappoint or go wrong, Ed's story in The Walrus got everything right. And he did it in the most difficult, outlandish way imaginable. Just like the Spotlight team, he did an investigative story about child molesters, but his wasn't about their terrible crimes or the innocent children they victimize. He did a story about an injustice he saw being committed against the child molesters, specifically about what happens when they get out of prison. He didn't terrorize local communities about pedophiles in their midst, didn't disclose their locations so an angry mob could run them out of town. He talked to them. He never downplayed their crimes or their continuing potential threat to children. He approached them as human beings, as members of our community, which they are. And he also won the trust of the understandably publicity-shy chaplains, social workers, ex-cons, and volunteers who have, for 2 decades, been ushering these individuals out of prison and into a supportive, supervisory, and largely secret community. These people commit to this project and to these men for the rest of their lives. They offer a phone call, a cup of coffee, a referral to rehab or counseling, a safe place to stay, all in the hope of ensuring that they keep winning the battle against their desires, their addictions, and their isolation. The group, which is called Circles of Support and Accountability, has helped hundreds of child abusers reintegrate into society with only a handful ever reoffending. That's a truly incredible success rate, and it saw the program expand across Canada and then around the world. And then it saw its federal funding cut early last year, before the election. Staff are no longer being paid. Many offices have closed. There is, as Ed Tubbs would say, no one minding the monster. And now that we know, it should worry us. His is an incredible story. It's challenging. It makes you think more than feel. It might just change your mind, and it might change the world a little bit. After reading it, I was never more convinced that it's not unending punishment, but an offer of acceptance, friendship, and a second chance to even, or maybe especially, to the most unlovable among us that will make us strong and keep us safe. But you should not take my word for it. You absolutely must read it. And for my colleagues out there, I promise you, it will make you believe that daring, difficult, original journalism is always possible, no matter what the challenge is. And this leads me to my one last professional admission. If you've been in this game long enough, you start to think you've pretty much seen everything, at least twice. Well, Ed, none of us saw what you did coming, but we're really glad you did it. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, Bonnie. Thank you to the Hillman Foundation. Thank you to the judges. This is the end of an incredible year for me professionally, and I can't thank you enough. Thank you to my editors at The Walrus. Drew Nels, who's not here, he took 9,000 of my words and turned them into a focused 5,000 that had a really beautiful rhythm that I wish I could say was all mine, but he helped so much on that. And I want to thank Bill Reynolds and Ira Shapiro at Ryerson, who saw the piece first and helped so much in that. I also need to thank the Writers' Trust of Canada, who paid me for it, and Megan for being so patient with it while I freelanced. The people who run Circles of Support and Accountability have a word for their clients. Universally, they call them guys. And in person, those guys, they can be rude, they can be shy. Some of them have extremely poor hygiene. Most of them are extremely guarded. And what they all have in common, though, is that they are all high-risk child sex offenders. And all of them have been in prison for their crimes. And all of them now live in the community. So you or I or the rest of the public may have a different word for them than guys. but that's what the people of Circle Support and Accountability call them. In August 2013, the then Prime Minister Stephen Harper used very different language to describe them and what they do. He said, I quote, I cannot even begin to comprehend why those who sexually prey on children do the heinous things that they do. The fact is we don't understand them and we don't particularly care to. So my piece was at its core all about that contrast. The contrast between the attitude that you expect and the attitude that you see in the people who run Circles of Support and Accountability, COSA. I first heard about them in February 2013 as news of a cut to a prison program. And at the time, it was just the latest in a long series of cuts to the federal prison system. It was not a surprise, but at the time, it was a scoop, so I reported it. I called around, and the reaction I got from the people who had worked with COSA or knew about it was absolutely amazing. Without exception, everyone I talked to that knew the program said something along the lines of, I can't believe they're cutting COSA. Why would they do that? It puts our kids at risk. Every single person I talked to said that. But when I pitched the story, I didn't get any response at the time. I was freelance. So the news came out. Other media reported it well. But from my conversations with the people who run COSA, I didn't think anyone had this story that I had. So I kept reporting it. And I found, along with incredible characters who run this, who have incredible histories and are incredible people, I found facts to back up what they do. I found that a series of studies in Canada and abroad have shown that they reduce reoffenses for these men by upwards of 80%, and maybe actually be more effective than that for stopping serious offenses, although the sample sizes are small. And I also learned that because of a quirk in how the Canadian prison system works, there is no one else for many of these men when they come out of prison. And that's because what you may know as the 2/3 rule for prison sentences does not apply for high-risk child sex offenders. There's an exception in the law, which means that they're held typically to the very end of their prison sentence and then released. And at that point, the federal government has no formal way to look after them. Which is where COSA stepped in. And that's where COSA stepped in 1994 when a man named Harry Nye came up with a system to look after, look out for, and supervise and watch over a man named Charlie Taylor, who at the time was given a 100% chance to reoffend sexually against children. And everybody involved with that at the time thought that was bang on and that was correct. And everybody was terrified of it because it was a nightmare. But the system that Harry Nye set up for him in 1994 worked, and it continued to work until his death 10 years later. But if COSA disappears, that may happen again. And that is a nightmare, because whether you call them a guy or a pedophile or a monster or whatever you call them, the fact is a lot of them are extremely dangerous. And they may not necessarily want to be. Some of them don't. But if they're left alone and they're not given the help they need from people like this, it's very likely that they will do it again. Since my piece was published in May 2015, a lot has changed, but also a lot hasn't. The money is still gone. It has not been reinstated. There was no money for COSA, no money at all allocated to changes to the prison system in the budget. And several sites have closed. There are 5 out of 18 left in Canada that are operating fully. Those are in Toronto, Ottawa, Peterborough, Saskatchewan, and Vancouver. COSA sites have closed elsewhere. They've closed in Moncton, Halifax, Kingston, Montreal, other places. And the ones that are left are now trying to turn to foundation funding to help. But that's a very difficult sell, because if you work for the United Way or a private donor, I think it's fair to say that there are other safer things to donate to than to a charity that literally gives money to help sex offenders. But there is some optimism. I've had conversations with the Minister of Public Safety, Ralph Goodale, and he knows about it. He's invited the people who run COSA nationally to come to Ottawa, and that's extremely encouraging. That definitely didn't happen in the last government. There's no date on that meeting, so we don't know when that's going to happen, but it is on the table. So if I have to guess, I think the money is going to come back at some point. The question is, will it come back too late or too little for the groups that need that money to keep running? Because it does take full-time employees to do the work they do. So, again, I want to thank the Hillman Foundation so much for this. It's an incredible honor. The call I got from Courtney was absolutely stunning to me. And I can't express how much of an honor it is to be up here before two pieces like the one by the Globe, the CBC, and Radio Canada on missing and murdered Aboriginal women, and the piece by Desmond Cole and my new colleagues at the Toronto Star as well. Their work was incredible and exactly everything I want to read in investigative journalism. And I'm so grateful that the Hillman Foundation would think to honor an understated little piece like mine as well. Thank you.